All right, good morning, campers. My name is Ty Dye, and today in sports, what we're going to be talking about is soccer. Just like the last video, a brief overview of what I'm be talking about in this video is I'm to start off by talking about the history of soccer, and following that, I'll be talking about some of the goals and objectives in the game of soccer while you're playing. After that, some of the rules and regulations that we might see in soccer, and some of the fouls or penalties as well. After that, I'll be talking about some of the positions in soccer as well. So that's gonna be really fun talking about some of the positions that are in soccer, and different types of positions like goalkeeper and forward and defensive back and stuff. After that, I'll also be showing y'all some video demonstration like I did in the last one of me at the park doing stuff like how to trap a soccer ball, how to kick a soccer ball, how to do a throw in and stuff like that. And then to finish off the video, I'll be talking about some ways that you can play soccer indoors slash outdoors as well. So stay tuned. Alright, campers, so I'm going to start off this video the same way that I did with last week's video about basketball. I'm going to talk about the history of soccer. So the first thing I want to talk about is how old the game of soccer actually is. When you think about the game of soccer, it's actually been around for nearly 2,000 years, and it was actually played during the time period of ancient China, Greece, and Rome. It is one of the most popular sports in the world, and actually, I'm pretty sure it's actually the most played sport around the world too. Actually, and the reason being because of that, if you think about it, is because it's been around for so long. The game of soccer, especially knowing that it's actually 2,000 years old. The next thing I want to talk about in regards to the history of soccer is actually the original name, soccer. Originally, the name of this game or sport was actually football, and the meaning behind that was because in soccer, or football, you're actually just using your feet, so that's why they call it football. And how it came or became the name of soccer was during the 1900s in countries like Europe and England especially, they transitioned or switched the name to soccer, and that's how football actually became soccer, or the name changed of it. So that's a little bit of a history of the game of soccer. Alright, Kimber, so when we talk about the goals and objectives in the game of soccer, it's actually pretty similar to last week's topic of basketball. There's an offensive side to it and there's a defensive side to it. The offensive side is that just like basketball, you're trying to score and outscore your opponent. And the way that you score or earn a point in soccer is basically by kicking or making a goal in the game. And the way that you prevent the other team from scoring defensively is basically playing defense and preventing them to try to make it to your side of the field and try to kick it in your goal. Some other goals and objectives in the game of soccer is basically your method of scoring, what you want to do, or how to score the ball. One way that you can score is by kicking the ball into the goal. Another way is by somebody giving you a pass and you tipping the pass in. Another way, for example, is a header is when somebody kicks the ball up in the air and you try to tap the ball in to the goal using your head. And another way is through something called a penalty kick. It's when you stand a certain amount of feet away from the goal and the goalie, and it's just a 1v1. It's you and the goalie, and you try to outsmart the goalie and kick the ball in and make a goal. So that are some of the objectives and goals in the game of soccer. Right, so when it comes to some of the rules in the game of soccer, they're pretty easy and simple. Um, every goal you score is 1 point, and the other rule is basically you're not allowed to use your hands because in soccer you're only using your feet. But the exception with that is that the goalkeeper is the only one that is allowed to use their hands, and they're only allowed to use their hands while they're in their goalie box. That's something they have a designated area where they can use their hands, and with that, the goalie can hold the ball for 6 seconds. Um, Other than that, some penalties or fouls in the game of soccer that we see are stuff like offsides. And offsides is basically when you are making a pass to your teammate, but they're ahead of the defensive player, right? So let's say I got the ball and I'm on the offensive side of the play right now, and I pass the ball to my teammate, but he's ahead of the last defender. That would be what we call an offsides because you're not supposed to be ahead of the defender. Some other fouls or penalties that we see in the game of soccer are tripping is basically when you're intentionally trying to trip someone and not trying to get the ball. Another one is slide tackling from behind. It's basically when someone has the ball and you just come from behind and slide tackle them, right? And another one that we see a lot in the game of soccer is pushing. And what that is basically when you're just intentionally trying to push the player and not trying to get the ball, or you're just being too aggressive and you push them. So those are some of the common fouls or penalties that we see in the game of soccer, and most of the time the penalty for that is basically a free kick or a throw-in. Other than that, some penalties that we also see in the game of soccer are yellow cards. Yellow cards are given to plays or penalties that are not harsh, but in the middle. The severity is in the middle, and it's just basically a warning to the player that if you get another yellow card, that you can get ejected from the game. And that being said, if you get 2 yellow cards in a game of soccer, that automatically means that you have a red card, and that constitutes for you getting ejected because a red card is basically given to when the foul is very severe, and what a red card constitutes is basically you getting kicked out of the game and suspended from the next game. But the thing with that is that if you're just playing with your friends, it doesn't mean that you're gonna get suspended from the next game. That's just in regards to players who play in actual leagues and stuff. In actual leagues, you would get suspended from the next game, but if you're playing with your friends, you're most likely not gonna get suspended from the next game. Yeah, so that's basically it. That's basically some of the rules, fouls, and penalties in the game of soccer. All right, so now I'm gonna start talking about some of the positions in the game of soccer, and I'm gonna start off on the defensive side of the ball. The first position I'm gonna start talking about is the goalkeeper, and the goalkeeper is basically the person in charge or job is to basically prevent the other team from scoring or kicking a goal into their goal. Um, the one thing about the goalkeeper that y'all should know is that the goalkeeper is the only player on the field that is allowed to use both of their hands and their feet during the game to prevent the other team from scoring. Normal players who play other positions are not allowed to use their hands. They're only allowed to use their feet. So goalies are the only one on the field that are allowed to use both. Since we're talking about the defensive positions on the defensive side of the ball, the next thing I'm going to start talking about are the defenders. And the defenders are basically the last line of defense before the offense reaches the goal on the offensive side. And the main goal of the defenders are to basically prevent the other team from scoring the goal. Within those defenders, there are positions like the center back. The center back's main job is basically to prevent the other team's striker from shooting the ball. And next we have the fullback. And the fullback, there are 2 fullbacks usually, both on the left and the right side of the center. And their main job is to basically defend wingers from advancing the ball by driving it or passing it. And the final position that we have on the defensive side of soccer is basically the winger or the wing, and their main job is to basically defend and play offense occasionally. Um, their main job is to basically spread out on the field, support the mid backs on the offense, and when they're on defense, they basically cover the other wing backs for the opposing team as well. Alright, so now we're going to switch over to the other side of the soccer ball, and we're going to talk about offensive positions in soccer. Some offensive positions in soccer start off with players like forwards. Forwards are also known as strikers. They're really known for scoring and offense only. Um, their main job is to stay on the offensive side of the field, and they're not usually allowed to pass the midfield line. They're also known for doing penalty kicks and corner kicks. And within forwards, there are positions like center forward, who are always ahead of the play, and they're the main person scoring the goal. Other than that, we have second strikers, and their main duties are to look for openings and make passes and plays to the center when they score. Um, but other than that, yeah, they're really playmakers. We also have wingers as well, and their main job is dribble past the opposing fullback and make plays and passes to the strikers. So they're basically another playmaker as well. All right, so to conclude the positions part, we're going to finally talk about the midfielders. Midfielders are usually the people who assist on the defense. They try to get the ball to the forwards, so they put the forwards in the best position to score. They are really involved on the offense as well because they are also themselves trying to score. Within the midfielders, there are different type of midfielders, like the center midfielders, who are mainly dual threats because they can play it both on the offensive side of the ball and the defensive side of the ball, and they are the ones that have the best vision of the field, so they can both see the field very well on the offensive side and defensive side. Next, we have the defensive midfielder, and they're just there for extra protection on the defense. They prevent strikers from trying to score and drive down the field as well. They are also able to cover other midfielders and defenders who are trying to help the offensive team as well. Next, we have the attacking midfielder, and their jobs are to basically create opportunities for the strikers slash forwards and look for gaps in the defense. So they're essentially another playmaker on the field on the offensive side because they're trying to look for that little gap that they can pass the ball through to the forward or slash strikers so they can score. And then finally, to wrap up positions, we have the wide midfielder, and their main job is basically to support the offense, and they serve as extra protection on the flank of the field as well. So that concludes the positions part of this video. Next, I'm going to start showing you some video demonstrations of how to kick a soccer ball, how to trap a soccer ball, and how to throw in a soccer ball as well. So stay tuned for that part. So for this week's activity is soccer. So I'm going to show you all how to pass a soccer ball. One of the most important things while you play soccer and in regards to passing a soccer ball is that you don't use the front of your foot or the toes because you can injure yourself. So when you pass a soccer ball, you use the inside of your feet. Here's a demonstration of how to pass a soccer ball. Alright, campers, so the next part of this video is learning how to kick a soccer ball. The most important thing when it comes to kicking a soccer ball is that just like passing, you use the inside of your feet. And the next most important thing is that you have to plant your foot. Here's a demonstration of how to kick a soccer ball properly. Alright, so the next part of the video is learning how to trap a soccer ball. This is really important because when a teammate passes you the ball, this is the only way that you can stop the ball and control it in order to gain good possession and move the ball around the field. Here's a demonstration. So for the next part is learning how to throw in a soccer ball during a soccer game. One of the most important things with throwing in the soccer ball is that it's over your head. You throw it, you hold it from over your head and then you throw it in. Here's a demonstration of how to do so. Alright campers, so now I'm going to start talking about ways that y'all can play soccer indoors slash outdoors. Ways that you can play soccer indoors is by going to Walmart or Target or your local sporting goods store, and I believe they sell like little miniature goals that you can set up in your home, and you can practice kicking in or just practice passing in. So that's one way you can play soccer at home. Another way that you can play soccer at home is that you really don't have to go buy a goal. You can just, if you already have one, a soccer ball, use a soccer ball and practice your passing, your kicking a little bit. But if you're kicking at home, make sure that you don't kick too hard or something, because you can't break items at home, and we don't want you to do that, right? Break anything at home. In regards to playing soccer outdoors, you can go to the park, like the video I was talking about going and playing basketball outdoors. You can just go to the park with a group of friends, and you guys can just play a game if you want to practice on your soccer skills, or you can just practice dribbling the soccer ball, learning how to properly shoot or kick a soccer ball, and how to properly throw in and stuff like that. So those are some of the ways you can play soccer indoors slash outdoors. I just want to thank y'all so much for watching. My name is Tie Dye, and thank you for watching today.